So how? Why? Why are you believing? And of course, it's great if you are confident and prepared and you know a few things to say about the existence of God and the nature of God. We're not only talking about Jesus, we're talking about uh, God the Father and that very creator that created the universe, that created the nano universe and the macro universe, right? With trillions of stars. So we know that God is invisible. And that, of course, may be a little bit of a problem for God. Um, so that's why we have people that do not believe at all in God, and some just a little bit vaguely. And so this is the purpose of religion, then to um, introduce God and speak about God and about how his creation works. So we will have just a few, we give a few ideas. I mean, this is material we could fill a complete one-day webinar or seminar with. But this is just to give you some ideas, and you can maybe connect with the person that invited you and learn a little bit more, and also maybe to provide you with some literature so you can also study on your own. But okay, here is a picture I recently took. It's the front of a church with a great glass front, right, giving a view into the woods. And as you can see, there are trees that go straight up. Some slanted, some are crooked, okay, but most trees go straight up towards the sunlight. And this is where the similarity is also with us. We too. Why are we actually here? It is because we want to know more. We go for the light of truth and of love. We want to know more. And that may be actually a mutual desire between the Creator and us, His creation. The Creator, of course, wants to have the fullest of relationship with any of us. So he put this into us. This we call it the original mind, through which God guides us. So anybody that comes to these lectures um, is obviously guided with God. I can tell you one thing. When I first time heard this principle of creation, that was 1972 back in Germany. I was so amazed once I understood this principle of creation. I I talked to about everybody, including it was a Catholic city, nuns and priests. I was eager to pass it on. Okay, so anyway, here is something the founder of our movement, Sun Myung Moon, um, expressed in one of his many sermons. I read it. Um, or Jorge, would you want to read it? Just after the than anything else. The basic point.
Yes, of course. You can tell me when you want me to stop. I'll start there. The
Yeah,
basic point, the basic point is that awareness precedes knowledge, not the other way around. If we are cold, we feel cold before we know we are cold. Likewise, since God exists, we should be able to feel his existence in our very cells. Achieving that awareness is what matters. The issue is how we achieve that awareness, the ability to experience these things.
thank you. So it is really uh, what I always would call before blind fate. Somehow we all got into the fate, sometimes prompted by our parents, by our family. But it doesn't have to be just like that. I added this painting of Jesus. Um, that painter was 8 years old when she painted that, and most of us know about her as Akiane Karmic. And she grew up in an atheist family. And at age 4, her spiritual senses were open. She could see angels. She could relate to God in the most intimate ways already. And she was driven to express this. So at age 8, heaven gave her the request to make a portrait of Jesus. That's a big story just to that itself. Yeah. But this is what this 8-year-old then did. She was teaching herself painting. So God can reach into an atheist family and inspire a little child about himself. Of course, she made all of her family then the believers too, okay? So it goes from awareness to knowledge and to personal experience. And this is what we all really aim for, to get to this personal relationship with God and have these experiences. So let me go to the next image here. So God, of course, reveals himself in so many different ways, either in dreams even. Sometimes you may get a direct experience with God out of blue sky. And then, of course, in the arts, including music. So this is a painting by a visionary painter that kind of reminds me a little bit of the Russian icons, because he put in a lot of symbolism. Russian icons, they're carried with a lot of symbolism, and they make your mind wander. But this here I find interesting because it describes one of the main principles in the principles of creation. So here we have at the top position, we have God, the creator, and left and right, we have a man and a woman, male and female. As Genesis describes, we are all made in the image of God, male and female. As they unite, centered on God, they form a family, and there will be children. So this is, of course, a very important principle, and I want to explain that a little bit more. So here you have the formula, the principle itself in a graphic. So in the top position, again, God, and then the two complementary positions, subject partner, object partner, or he can also put in man or woman, or parents and children. It's all based on relationships. And as they unite, centered on God, there will be a union. And this kind of explains the eternal purpose of creation, or we can also say a certain dynamic of life. Social life is based on relationships. That includes our relationship with God. So let me just read this. It's a little bit kind of abstract theoretical language, but it contains a lot of potential for greater understanding. So when the origin God, the subject partner and object partner, man or woman, projected from the origin, and their union all engage in harmonious give and take action and fulfill the three object purpose, the four position foundation is established. So it's important to remember this, the four position foundation. It's a basic formula of how family, how the individual is growing, let's say mind and body, unity between mind and body, heart and intellect, and so forth, centered on God. So the four position foundation is the fundamental foundation of goodness and the realization of God's eternal purpose of creation. So let's remember that. It might be good to note down the four position foundation. Now, again, if you go back to the Genesis, there's a talk about the three blessings. as we all know, the three blessings are be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. This also tells us that everything in God's creation has to grow. It's going through growing periods. We say there are three basic growing periods, like formation stage, growth stage, and perfection stage. So we all know about the fall. It is in the fall that the original connection God wanted man to have with him was broken. Religion is the path to restore that connection. And so um, I don't want to go too far into the fall. This is a one lecture in itself. But here we have again the four position foundations of God. Also, we have the maturity, the first blessing, be fruitful, centered on the individual, um, where we need to mature by uniting mind and body and become mature person. Once the maturity is reached, then we can receive the second blessing and be where we marry, where we have being blessed into marriage. And this is again based on the mature man and woman that have accomplished the first blessing, also being fruitful. And the result then of it as children and the family. And then from there, based on this ideal couple, um, um, society, nation, and world is being developed. And so we say family is the cornerstone of society. And of course, it should be the intact family, a family that is related to God, that is a harmonious family. And the more harmonious families we have, the better the society will function. Then over here, we go to the third blessing. And it's again a harmonious society, harmonious people that takes care for the creation, for nature. This is known in our time now as environmental care. So if most nations taking care for the environment, then probably what is known as a religious term, kingdom of heaven, is not too far away, the ideal world in secular terms. But the ideal world can only happen, let's say, if nations are really are relating to God. So America, for instance, calls itself that one nation under God. And that's what all nations should be. We should be all under God. And then we would have a worldwide heaven on earth, so to speak. Yeah. So here once more, we have the graphic of this God's three blessings. So here we talk about the individual on the left. We talk about the individual four position foundation, where we accomplished first blessing, which means being fruitful, becoming mature, centered on God. The second blessing would be then on the family level, perfection. Again, it's the family four position foundation with God and husband and wife creating children. And then we go to the third blessing, perfection of dominion, having taken care for creation, taken care for the environment with the right heart. So people that are related to God doing probably best in that area. So again, let me just read what's there underneath. God's third blessing is the perfect human dominion over the natural world. For this, human beings and the natural world should become complete, so one universe, thereby establishing a God-centered four-position foundation of dominion that describes the third blessing. Let me go to one more principle. We call that the origin, division, union action. It's being explained here, the process in which out of God, the origin, the two entities are separately manifested. It's like male and female and reunited in oneness. It's called origin, division, union, action. But it also, again, brings me back to that Genesis line that we are all created in God's image. So if we're created as man and woman, and this is God's image, those two natures, the male nature and female nature, must be also found in God. Or you could also replace it with heart and intellect. So God is expressing himself on so many levels in this in this concept of duality, mind and body, heart and intellect, male and female. There's many applications. So when those two objects fulfill their complementary purpose centered on God, there will be a union. And as we all know, unity makes strong. Unity is what we all want to achieve. And here we are, the United States. The more united we are, the better it is, right? The more united the family is, the better it is for the children and even for the pets. So we leave it with this. I printed out here the what do we call it? The itinerary of the first book, and the first book has, but let's say from this volume has about 12 different books in it, and it would be enough material for a full day seminar. But I just gave you a few ideas that could make a difference. You can also order the Divine Principle book that comes also in smaller brochures. And the Divine Principle is the revelation by Sun Myung Moon, who was sent on his mission in 1935 when Jesus Christ appeared to him and pleaded with him to complete his mission. So Divine Principle we call the completed testament. We have the Old Testament, New Testament, completed testament. So there's of course a lot more that need to be said just on that one subject, God, the principle of creation and so forth. But maybe talk with the person that invited you and find out how you can learn more, or even maybe have some telephone conversation maybe tomorrow or one of these days. Yeah. So I want to close it with this, and we could then maybe go into some questions.
Sure.
And there could be general questions you always may have had about God the Father. Okay. We see Jesus as God's Son, the only begotten Son, that mostly reflected God's characteristics on a male level. Yeah. And so I give it then back to Jorge would you want to lead us into some question answer time?